Hi there. Today we're back with more life and suffering in the world of Kenshi. When we last saw our heroes, we had killed a goat, acquired a wife, bought a second house, and got into a big brawl in the desert. I started off the day by sending Ruka and Shaku towards Squin to get more backpacks and food, planning to stop along the way to finish looting the bandits we'd taken out at the end of last episode. Lo and behold, there was a group of starving bandits there waiting for us as a scuffle ensued. While the two Shek put up a decent fight, they were just too outnumbered and not strong enough yet to deal with it. The bandits left them in the dirt. Being too injured to continue their mission, I had them collect the dust bandit gear and head back to the hub. I tried setting up the automation of copper mining for Photo and Frog, but their pathing went completely bonkers and I had to switch them to other spots. Once the Shek were healed up enough, I sent them to Squin again.
Alright. At number 2.
After they arrived, I discovered that the shop didn't have the wooden backpacks I wanted in stock, so I'd have to try again later. I did get Ruka a Thief's backpack though. With the shopping in Squin a bust, I decided to send them to the nearby Hiver village to check what they had, not realizing that the Hiver village was to the northwest and not to the southeast. Luckily, a bandit gang caught them on the way and beat them up, forcing the two to travel back to the hub again to heal instead of running all the way to the swamp. Not realizing my mistake yet, I again sent Ruka towards the swamp in search of Hivers. Now, the thing is, I had a pretty good memory of what the area around the Hiver village looked like, so you'd think that I'd realize I was in the wrong spot and move on, but that'd make too much sense. This is Kenshi. Am I in the right swamp?
Oh, you know what? I probably should have went up there.
I was now somewhat on the right track, as the area I'd indicated did in fact have Hivers, but of the sort that attack and eat you on sight. By good fortune, I didn't end up sending Ruka to be eaten in the Fog Islands. Instead, I had her run to a small swamp village and do some shopping there before heading back home. On her way back, she was accosted by a gang of swamp ninja, who were both stronger and faster than she was. Her only hope was to keep running long enough to get closer to home before getting beat up, so that somebody could come out to save her. Despite my fears and her injuries, she actually managed to get back home under her own power, and got right to bed to heal up. And still not realizing my blunder, I sent Shaku north toward the Fog Islands in the search of my Hiver village. By the grace of Shaku's pathing as he ran northward, he happened upon the very village I was looking for, sparing him from a painful death in the fog. Having finally found the village, I had Shaku run in and look for the shop. They ultimately didn't have anything I wanted or needed, but it was good to know where it was for the future if I ever needed prosthetic limbs. Thus, I sent Shaku south to Squin again to see if they'd restocked anything. For some reason, he decided to stop midway and stand around for bandits to swarm him. Why did you stop? It's right there. You dumb piece of shit. I got him back on track and he made it to the gate, healing while the guards dealt with his idiocy. The store still didn't have what I needed, so instead I stocked up on books and maps and medical to make the trip worth all the wasted time. Ruka got right to work on the queued up research while Frog and Photo continued mining. After a few more hours of grinding, Shaku made another trip to Squin and finally acquired the backpack I had been needing. I grabbed more maps and a sleeping bag while I was at it. I also stopped for more food since we were constantly running out. As soon as he got home, I immediately set up the third sleeping roll to help alleviate any future mass casualty events. Inside the big house, I set up storage for building supplies, preparing ahead of time for when we finally get around to making an outpost. Thus began several days of mining copper, researching, and stockpiling. Not remembering that it never rains around the hub, and that I had no use for a rain collector, I set one up anyways on the roof. It would never see a drop of water, and soon be forgotten to collect only dust. As we kept running out of iron plates, and I knew we'd need a lot, I figured why not set up a mining and refining camp right outside the hub? Why not just a temporary outpost to help prep for the real one? Well, we'd never relocate from there, as of recording this line. With the machinery set up, I sent Frog over to Squin to see if he could recruit more help. Unfortunately, all 4 recruits that I was interested in cost $3,000 apiece, and all I had was $2,100. We need to do some serious fundraising to afford the new recruits. It's gonna be expensive, but to have a bunch of Shek women is gonna be really funny. After several grueling hours of simply selling all the ore that I had stockpiled, I could finally afford 3 of the 4 Shek honorable warriors. I decided that I'd try and go back for Soto later, if I ever remembered. Fucking dumpy. I got all 3 of them back to base and got them right to work on bodybuilding and manual labor. Soon enough, I got tired of how slow the iron refinery was, so I had it replaced. Working through the darkness of night was seriously hampering the workflow, so I had lights installed, which necessitated the construction of a windmill for power. The first visitors also started showing up, meaning it'd only be a matter of time before bandits started raiding relentlessly. But before we get to that, let's take a moment to talk about today's sponsor. This video is sponsored by Fogter, the premier meal delivery service for busy, ravenous fogmen who are just too fog-damned hungry to hunt for themselves. Let's face it, life's busy. Between screaming endlessly and fighting shinobi, who has time to chase down fresh meat? And how many times have you got home and checked the food poll to find it was empty? That's where Fogter comes in. With Fogter, you get pre-captured, fully conscious humanoids delivered straight to you, ready to be devoured, sacrificed, or just screamed at for hours before dinner. Each Fogter meal is curated by top raters and hand-selected to match your tribe's dietary needs, whether you're craving lean drifter, plump merchant, or a surprise noble tier bonus snack. They even handle the prep for you. No more hunting, no more dragging meat bags back through acid fog. Just place your order, let them tie themselves to the pole, and you're ready to eat and scream within just 2 minutes. Look, I used to spend hours raiding settlements and gnawing on old bones. Now I've got the energy for things that really matter, like building meat totems and participating in mass hysteria. So what are you waiting for? Go to fogter.shop and use code 50 to get 50% off your first delivery of fresh victims. Thanks again to Fogter for sponsoring this video. Let's get back to it. Progress on the camp was going smoothly, the first major interruption being the arrival of the Holy Nation to enforce Prayer Day. They would show up every few days, and one of my male humans would have to go meet them with a copy of the Holy Flame in their inventory to join the priest in prayer. It was a simple distraction, but I'd always have to make sure to have the book on hand and a human male around camp, or else invite destruction. Once the prayer is over, they fuck off and leave you alone. I had sent the Shek away thinking they'd get attacked, but learned later that the Holy Nation doesn't care so long as there are no skeletons or people with robotic limbs around. As long as a human male greets them, they'll assume the rest are just slaves. Any robotics at all will provoke them. While I was getting electrical component production going, we had our first run-in with bandits. With our numbers and decently growing fighting ability, we were actually able to barely win this fight, with most of my team unconscious in the dirt. Oh, he lost his arm. It fucked. Something that was once again rearing its ugly head was our constant depletion of food. It felt like every other hour I was having to send somebody to Squin to stock up. It really didn't help that I had 5 shek, which naturally consumed 20% more food, doing hard labor which bumped their nutrition needs even further. I decided I need to start growing some crops. As I was going about gathering plants for the farming research and preparing to start my crops, the Bandit Demands event happened. A group of dust bandits demanded 2,000 cats to leave me alone. At my current strength, I couldn't risk the fight knowing they'd wipe me out, so I chose to pay them off and prepare for revenge down the line. Much, much further down the line. Shortly after the dust bandits left, I suffered another incursion by the starving bandits.
We won!
A trip to Squin got us cactus and wheat straw, so we could get to researching the crops. The eventual plan was to make the humble Dustwich, a sandwich skillfully crafted by placing 2 slices of bread over a slice of cactus. Delicious. In preparation for the crops, I started construction on 2 automated wells to make sure we'd have enough water. Finally, on day 35 of the playthrough, it was time to start planting my crops. They had to start small, as we only had a small supply to start the process, but each harvest would serve to grow my fields and soon we'd have food aplenty. After a bit of growing pains, as I figured out Kenshi's food crafting system. That come later. After a little waiting, it was time for the first batch of wheat straw to get harvested. I ended up with barely a fraction of what I expected. 2 things were at play here. 1, the fertility for wheat straw in this area was 60%, meaning the most I could ever expect was a max 60% yield. 2, my farmer, Meow, was dogshit at her job, so she was further ruining the lion's share of what she harvested. Over time, she'd get better at it and yield would go up, but it wasn't going to be quick. Once the grain silo was complete, I had Meow fill it with wheat straw to see how much I needed to get straw flour. I learned that it would take 10 whole wheat to make 1 flour. I'd later learn as well that a single flour earned a single bread. This meant I'd need to massively upscale my wheat straw production if I ever hoped to have enough food. In another act of expanding production, I had the manual stone processor replaced with a powered one, ramping up future building material creation in anticipation of building walls and structures. This is about the time that I accepted that my temporary resource camp was becoming a permanent base. Bandit attacks felt like they were becoming more frequent, resulting in more downtime as my team had to stop to bandage and heal. Fed up with the constant raids and hoping that a wall would hopefully slow them down a bit, I got to work on the defensive perimeter. All this would really do was funnel the attackers through the gate instead, but at least I'd know which direction to expect them from. Little by little, the base improved. The walls sprouted up. Our wallet grew steadily fatter. Our farm prospered. Bandits poked their heads in and got a beating for their trouble. Traders came and went. All was good and flourishing. And then out of nowhere, something pissed off the Holy Nation, and they attacked. I first feared that they'd capture some of my people and haul them off to Rebirth, but it seemed they were content to just break some bones and spill blood before leaving. I didn't even take a reputation hit with them. With the wall nearly complete, I realized we needed a spot for batteries and crafting stations, as well as closer beds, so I had the outpost's first proper building constructed. Just 6 days after planting our first crops, the wall was complete and our outpost was starting to look more like a home. I had the sleeping rolls set up on the roof to keep them out of the way, then started work on the first floor for the bread oven, cooking stove, and a rum still to make some extra money on any leftover cactus. Along the wall behind the farm, I set up a row of prisoner cages, so that I could capture some of the bandits that kept harassing us. With the Recruit Prisoners mod, I'd be able to bribe them with food to make them join our ranks. Starving bandits would be all but useless, but dust bosses made for good hirelings. Day 43 was cause for celebration, as at long last Frog Rogers II produced our very first Dust Witch, and promptly ate it on the spot. While food production wasn't yet enough to provide for everyone, especially once we got more recruits, it was definitely nice to reduce spending on rations. I figured this was as good a time as any to stop for the day, as I'd been at it for 5 hours straight. Remember, you can watch me livestream this very playthrough here on my channel. I don't promise I'll be very entertaining, but the option's there. Till next time.